Welcome to Our Girl Relationships. We talk about the problems people face in their day to day lives. Let's start with the video. I'm a 20-year-old female, and my sister, 21, Daisy, was the sweetest golden retriever kind of energy person. She was kind, loving, and gentle towards me and our family. I wouldn't say she was perfect. None of us are, but I'd say to me, she was great. And so was our relationship. Unfortunately, this didn't last though, because by the time she had gotten into junior year of high school, her demeanor changed, not just towards our parents, but towards me as well. And till this day, we're not sure why. Even till this day, even after trying to talk to her so many times, I think I can assume that it's a result of both her new group and the differences in the way my parents, and I live. She had gotten into the entire goth alternative kid scene, and although I found her very cool for that, my parents would often turn this change of hers down, but not so much that it would make her want to change so much. Well, unfortunately, this just continued on as Daisy and I both went off to college. She sadly got herself into the wrong crowd and began drinking, smoking a lot. I wouldn't say I was perfect, though. I did and still do make a lot of mistakes. And over time, trying to help my parents and get her out of this lifestyle, got into numerous arguments with her, but it was of no avail as Daisy was set. And her friends made sure to tell me the same by texting me rage filled texts on numerous occasions. It became so emotionally taxing on me that I ultimately had to just quit because being a teen myself, I really couldn't handle all of that, on top of the academic pressure I was going through. So, unfortunately, for the next 3 years, Daisy slowly went no contact with us. And although I tried staying in touch with her over the years, after constantly being shut down, I too gave up. Years passed this way, and a lot had changed ever since. I finished getting my degree from undergraduate school. I had just gotten out of a long term toxic relationship and enrolled myself in postgraduate school, trying to get over my relationship and just get on with my life. My parents still grieved everything that went down with Daisy. That was all until I received a message from Daisy herself, after all these years, asking me if I wanted to catch up. I was shocked and kind of hesitant, but once again, just because I was worried about my parents, I decided to give things a shot. And boy, I wish I didn't. It didn't feel that way initially, though, because the first few months just took us to catch up. Daisy had changed a lot. Hell, the day we first met again, she wasn't alone. She was there with her son, my nephew, who was barely a couple of months old. She told me how she had no idea who the father of her child was and desperately needed shelter. She had dropped out of college during the second year to travel the world with her rich ex boyfriend, who she cheated on, and ended up here. My big sister instincts immediately told me to take her in. Not for her, but my baby nephew, and so I took her to my parents' place, who were just happy to have her back. It was heartbreaking to see her turn this way. It was like she had become less of her and become like one of those entitled people that I'd read about on Reddit. But for the sake of my nephew and parents, I tried my best to support her, while all she did was berate me and sit on her butt all day. One thing that helped me was the fact that I stayed in college dorms for my postgraduate school too, even though my college wasn't too far from home, and that is how everything that brings me here starts too. You see, it was a normal day. I had a day off, so I was just relaxing until I got a frantic call from my sister telling me that there's a huge emergency and she's getting there immediately to pick me up. I'm panicking already, thinking about the worst possible outcomes, as Daisy refuses to pick up my call after. So she's outside my hostel, and I bolt to her car and she begins driving. I keep questioning her, but all I receive in return is silence. My anxiety is at its max now. I'm thinking about my mom and dad, who both suffer from diabetes, and my nephew, who's been sick lately. I'm almost on the verge of tears until I start to realize she's driving to a route that doesn't lead to my parents' place or the nearby hospital. Now I'm even more confused, but all my attempts to get an answer are met by silence until she starts getting to her destination. Now, suddenly, she's very excited to talk. She's telling me how she had been looking forward to have me meet this special person. At that point, I become a bit relaxed, and eventually she pulls up to the driveway of a house I've never been to. Well, I am horrified as Daisy knocks on the door and we're greeted by none other than the ex I was in a very toxic relationship with previously. My sister immediately jumped into his arms and they posed together, and my ex looked at me as if we had never shared history together. I'm not even sure why he acted this way and why my sister acted this way, knowing fully well my relationship with him, and that wasn't all, you guys. Our relationship was so toxic that I had literally gotten a restraining order against him, which he obviously broke. I started shaking as soon as the realization hit me and pulled out my phone to call the cops. I knew fully well that the two knew exactly what they were doing, because why else they would plan so elaborately to lure me into a house that didn't belong to him. I was sick to my stomach and called a friend to get back to their place. I knew I wasn't safe, even at my dorm. Daisy and my ex both tried to chase me as I began walking for a bit away from their place where I had called the cops. I just couldn't get myself to stay at the same place as them, and as soon as the cops came, I instructed them about Daisy and my ex's whereabouts, and after receiving a thumbs up, I just got my friend to drive me out of the neighborhood. This is where I am currently. My parents would not stop blowing up my phone, but I'm not bothering to look at my texts currently because I'm still shaken up by the entire situation. I mean, how can someone be so selfish? I feel horrified, as if my PTSD is coming to life. What should I do here? One part of me says I should be able to feel safe now that I've called the cops, but the other part worries about Daisy, as now she could get potentially in trouble with the cops. AITA? A lot of you were asking about this, so here it goes. I met my ex-boyfriend Michael towards the end of high school through mutual friends, and we were able to keep in touch due to the fact that we went to the same university. So after staying friends for a while, we started dating, and I'd say our relationship was great, at least at the beginning. But unfortunately, as we started getting deeper into each other, his possessiveness just got crazier, until one day I found him not just stalking me on his own, but him installing a location tracker on my phone and installing cameras in my house. All of this without my permission. Of course, for me, these were grounds for an immediate breakup, and that is what happened, but it took Michael a long time to accept it, causing me to have to get a restraining order against him when I had the final straw and he broke into my house. Needless to say, I was really traumatized by his sickening behavior. Hell, I even had to go through therapy because of this, and mind you all, the very day I met my sister, I told her about this, along with his name and picture, so there's no way she wouldn't have known about it, which is why I had such a strong reaction. Now that my parents are blowing up my phone and berating me for getting Daisy in trouble for just trying to get her life back together, I'm kind of really done with them. It's like they're trying to fix her life at the expense of mine, and that's really not okay. On top of my parents, Michael's parents too have been blowing up my phone since Michael has gotten into huge trouble with the cops for breaking the restraining order. The guilt is overweighting me. I guess all of them just know how easy it is to get me to back off by guilt tripping me. This time I wasn't going to budge, and I sort of figured they wouldn't either. So when I received a call from CPS asking me if I was related to my nephew, I immediately knew what was happening. They informed me that my sister had left my nephew home alone for the past couple of days, and my parents weren't home either. CPS were called by my neighbors when my nephew wouldn't stop crying out of hunger and thirst. I was dumbfounded at this discovery. I mean, my parents never told me that they were going out or anything. I immediately agreed on taking in my nephew. I tried contacting my parents, and all my calls were rejected. Unfortunately, I had no choice to file a missing report, as there was no way I could take in my nephew for such a long time living in dorms. The cops surprisingly were able to find them pretty easily, as I received a call to come meet them at the station the very next day. That is where I'm heading currently. We'll update you all soon. Hi all, it's been a while since I last updated, as I was busy with moving and getting my life together. A lot has happened since the time I went to the police station. The moment I got there, I was informed by the cops that they found my parents a couple of cities away with my sister and her rich ex-boyfriend. Apparently, he promised her and my parents to fund their life if they moved here without the baby. After hearing this, I knew I was done with them. I immediately contacted the CPS and informed them of everything, and after some back and forth between the cops, my sister and the CPS, my sister was ready to give up on my nephew, even when the CPS told her that she would be let off with a warning, and then began the process of trying to find my nephew a new home. I knew I couldn't get myself to have him live in the system, so I decided to take him in, thus making it a reason why I had to give up on my savings and rent an apartment. It's been a couple of months since all this happened. My sister and parents have already started reaching out to me again because they're stuck in the new city they moved to, and my sister's boyfriend refuses to help them like he previously promised. I have blocked them on all forms of social media because I'm absolutely not in the mood to help such selfish and pathetic people. As for my ex, he's been facing jail time for violating the restraining order. It's not a huge sentence, but enough that I hope it makes him realize that being a creep wouldn't make me fall in love again. So much has happened in these past couple of months. It feels like I have discarded a lot of people from my life. Them being completely unwanted is another story I think I don't need to tell you guys. Starting this new chapter, I just hope I can provide a stable life for my nephew. NTA, your parents clearly favor your sister more than you. I mean, what parent would side with a child that is dating your ex? Truly disgusting behavior. NTA, Daisy needs help, and that's the only way your parents can help her. You can do nothing in this situation. You've done absolutely nothing wrong in this situation. Our child is 3, and we have alternating weeks. My mother and sisters help me with childcare when I'm working, and I know I'm very lucky for this. My ex has recently started complaining that she's having trouble with childcare. The cost has become unreasonable, and our daughter is at an age now where she screams and cries when left with someone she doesn't know. And she can scream. My girl has a bright future as a tuba player because those lungs are powerful. I told my ex my mom could watch our daughter for her, but she said she didn't want my family watching her daughter on her time. I figured that was the end of the conversation, but she brought it up again at the next swap. I asked her why she was telling me this, and she got offended. She said I should care about her struggles since it involves our daughter. I said it's not possible to sympathize with problems that have easy solutions. She wants to waste her money on babysitters our daughter hates. That's her choice. If it causes problems for her, those are her problems. If she doesn't want my help, which she doesn't, then there's no reason for us to discuss her problems, as nothing can come of it. She said I was being an AH, and she just wanted a sympathetic ear, that she needs to talk about her problems sometimes. I said that's not what a therapist is for, or her friends, or something. I'm not going to pretend to be interested in her problems. I don't like problems, I like solutions. She said that's why our relationship ended, and I agreed that it was, and asked why she expected me to do something for her now that we're broken up. Listen to problems without offering solutions. I wouldn't even do when we're together. She knows I am only interested in solutions, not problems. Why was she expecting something else? My sister said it's important to have good communication with my child's mother, and I should pretend to care even though I don't, just to keep that communication line open. She said it's only once a week, and saying, "I'm sorry that sucks," costs me nothing and takes less time than saying, "Your problems aren't real problems and I don't care," and starting a fight. She might have a point. AITA? NTA, I can't believe your ex is turning down free childcare, unless your family verbally abuses or mistreat her in some way. Some parents use an app for communication. Could be something to look into. Technically NTA, but I am here with your sister. Whether you like it or not, you will have to communicate and coordinate with your ex for many years ahead. Thus, it would be easier for everybody and much better for your daughter if you two maintain a somewhat friendly relationship. I'm saying this as a child of divorced parents, and I was lucky they were most of the time friendly to each other and cooperative. Otherwise, I would mentally suffer a lot. My parents are divorced. My brother, 17, and I, 15, female, spent equal amounts of time with our parents until last year when we asked Dad to take Mom to court and get more custody time with us. The judge had us talk to a therapist who suggested letting us decide whether we spent overnights with her, but did suggest we see her at least twice a month. It was hard for Mom to accept. I love my mom, but I haven't really liked her for a long time. I despise her husband and I despise his 13-year-old daughter, and I never bonded or really cared about the rest of his kids or my half sibling. My mom's husband was an ass to us because we wouldn't call him Dad. He insisted that if we wouldn't give him the title, then we had to call him Mr. Last Name. Then he'd spend his time talking about how if our dad just let us live there, he'd be doing all the dad stuff, how we were ungrateful, selfish. He accused my brother of hating women and being a future manipulator because he was so cruel to not give my mom the love and respect of choosing a new father for us. His 13-year-old spent years trying to get us to call our mom's husband Dad, telling us our dad was selfish, saying she hoped our dad would die, and calling me a bully for not admitting her dad was my dad. She would also be brought along to exchanges, and then she'd curse at my dad and tell him to go die. Like, she was young when this started, so I know it came from someone else, but how am I supposed to be friendly or love someone who says that? One time she stole my bracelet and attempted to throw it in the garbage disposal because my dad bought it for me, and she told me he wasn't allowed inside her dad's house. Mom knew all about the stuff going on, and she never stood up for us. My brother and I have both rejected overnights with Mom ever since the court ruling. We spend every other Saturday with her, and we do a Wednesday dinner thing at a noodle shop. But that's all we see her, and we prefer it. Sometimes it ends badly because she'll bring along all the kids and the arguing is still present. My mom has begged us to spend the night sometime. She has said she misses us and we have a family there who would love to have us, and overnight's a part of that. My brother asked her when she was getting divorced. She replied that she wasn't, and he told her that until that day he will never set foot in her house again. He left. I was then alone with Mom, and I told her I'll never do an overnight at her house again. She started arguing and told me I was blowing things up out of proportion. I asked her if she wanted her youngest to grow up with the kind of fighting that goes on when we're there. She told me I was being cruel to her by denying her overnights, that she's a good mom and she loves us. I told her she obviously loves her husband more, and left. She DM'd me after and asked how I could do that to her. I feel bad. AITA? NTA. Your mom's husband is trying to manipulate you guys and getting his daughter as well to manipulate you into calling him your father. This is unacceptable. You and your brother are mature enough to understand what is happening, and I don't blame you at all. Hopefully, things will get better soon. NTA, your mother needs to wake up. see and take responsibility for all the nonsense she's allowed your stepfather and his daughter to put you through. Your stepfather obviously has major control issues and cannot force a relationship on you that you do not want. I do not blame you for not wanting to go there or spend the night. Until things change, your mom will have to make do with seeing you in a neutral place.